Welcome to the Business Facilities Podcast, where we're focused on discussing strategies to help business owners, corporate site selectors, and site selection consultants make the best location decisions for their companies across a range of industries. I'm your host, Ann Cosgrove, Business Facilities Editorial Director, and my guest today is Harry M. Lightsey III. He's the Secretary of Commerce for the state of South Carolina, and we're thrilled to be talking with him today about what's been going on in South Carolina and what the business climate is there. Hello, Secretary Lightsey. Thanks so much for joining.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, before we dig in, I just wanted to share with our listeners who may not be familiar a brief overview of South Carolina's business climate with a few stories of what's been going on lately, and then obviously we'll be looking forward in our conversation. From what I understand, in 2023, South Carolina had another record-breaking year, following on 2022's numbers. And in 2023, capital investment was $9.22 billion. And some of those leading industries for that capital investment was automotive, along with EV and EV component industry. Also understand that alternative energy and fuels was another leading industry there. And so what I was hoping we would talk about today, and of course, we can depart from that as we move along, but I wanted to talk about South Carolina's long and rich manufacturing history, that of course remains strong today with Lockheed Martin, huge aerospace leader, of course, and began operations in Greenville in South Carolina in 1984. And now employing hundreds of people. And the site, from what I understand, Secretary Lightsey, that site there now delivers, or has been delivering, the F-16 fighter jets from the company?
That's correct. Yeah, they do all of the actual making of the F-16 fighter jets, as well as all the global maintenance for the F-16 fighter jet there.
Okay, so that's just to give a flavor, as I mentioned to the listeners. So let's dig into what's going on now and what our site selection listeners can expect by looking into South Carolina for their next investment. So I did want to just set the stage with asking you what is maybe a highlight in economic development in South Carolina that's been happening in 2024 to date. What kind of things are happening in the state that's making it ripe for business?
Well, as our Governor McMaster likes to say, South Carolina is booming. We really are, and over the last year, we were the fastest growing state, by percentage growth in the United States. And so, we're doing very well. And, at the end of January in 2024, Governor McMaster hosted our first ever economic development summit. And we really used that to set the tone for this year. That's where we rolled out our new brand. South Carolina launched a legacy and our brand promises. We also talked about our brand new strategic framework, where we're going to try to diversify a little bit. As you referenced, we've done extraordinarily well in manufacturing, and that's what we're known for, and we'll continue to do that. But we also wanted to embrace the future. That's part of our vision. And we're looking at some new sectors like biotech and life sciences and advanced energy, and also the headquarters and R&D sector. We think we can be very competitive in all three of those, and we're going to really work hard on getting South Carolina well known in those areas, in addition to what we've traditionally been known in.
Okay, wonderful. So you did mention the Launch to Legacy campaign that was launched in January 2024. And I wanted to kind of read the three prongs of that, and then maybe ask you to just talk a little bit about what the thought process was, and maybe just some of the practical, actionable steps that are happening that companies can learn more about through that campaign. So it leverages three core elements. When you invest in South Carolina, you grow as a business, a person, community. I know we hear a lot about quality of life as well with South Carolina, which is obviously very important, more important than ever to companies attracting or retaining talent. The second, South Carolina is built for the new economy. People can work where they live and love. And you mentioned new economy, so I think maybe that probably branches into maybe some of those new industries, states looking to diversify. And the third point that we see here is it's the new South Carolina is the new home and headquarters of American innovation. So again, tying into that diversification, I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. So, if you can talk a little bit about that, the launch to legacy, and really, what that means in practice and what companies can expect.
Yeah, so Launch to Legacy was really a great opportunity for us. It's the first time our state has rebranded in over 10 years. And so we were very deliberate about it. We have been doing a lot of research for at least the last year and a half prior to rolling out the new brand. And we conducted interviews with stakeholders both inside the state, around the United States, and around the world. And we started to see certain themes emerge as they discussed, what they thought was key to South Carolina's future. And that pattern indicated that people look to South Carolina for access to great talent. Our governor loves to say that our people are our best asset, and that is absolutely true. Our infrastructure and the growth potential that we have in the state. You mentioned our quality of life. That's incredibly important. We are very blessed to live in a beautiful state, from the mountains all the way to the sea, and we think that is a great asset to capitalize on. And just our business-friendly environment. We are known as a handshake state. When you get a commitment from South Carolina, you can count on us to deliver on that commitment. And that is from the moment you come to our state and invest in our state until the time when you're a legacy company that has become part of the fabric of our state.
You talked about from launch to the time that the company has a legacy within the state. So, what I really wanted to do is talk about some of those companies to share some stories, with our listeners about, across a few industries and across a few companies of what some companies have seen and experienced and how they've grown and profited by being in the state. So let's talk about some of those, from a packaging company that's been in South Carolina since 1899 in its beginnings, to a pharmaceutical firm that discovered all that South Carolina has to offer, to an automaker that brought its first facility outside of Germany to South Carolina back in the 90s. And, that automaker is BMW. And from what I understand, in 1992, BMW chose Spartanburg, South Carolina, for its first facility to be built outside of Germany. And the company's choosing to invest in the state was a surprise to many. I've read in the history of the story from BMW, since the state didn't have a legacy in the auto industry at that time, and we know that's changed. So BMW has been making cars in Spartanburg for 30 years now. It's become one of the nation's top auto exporters. In 2023, just for reference, as you well know, of course, total export value for BMW was $10 billion. Also, we talk, fast forward 2023, Scout Motors, another project and investment that Business Facilities recognized recently in our pages. They announced they would establish their first manufacturing plant in Blythewood, which is near Columbia, South Carolina. And that company will be building its all-electric next-generation trucks. $2 billion investment, 4,000 or more permanent jobs. So, this is obviously showing that how far the auto industry has come in South Carolina. So I did want to just get back to that legacy of BMW. And how has South Carolina supported BMW's growth over the past 3 decades? Maybe even talking about, those beginnings times in the state, and what role has partnerships had, available infrastructure? Kind of how has South Carolina and commerce grown and helped BMW grow? Is what I would like to know.
Yeah, so BMW is a great example. We think of what that partnership with our state does, and we were really truly vested in the companies that invest in South Carolina for their long-term success, and I think that the 3 decades of BMW in South Carolina show that. So as you mentioned, when BMW first announced that they were coming to South Carolina, we had 0 auto companies and 0 auto jobs in South Carolina. And today, 30 years later, we have over 500 companies in the automotive sector in South Carolina, with over 75,000 South Carolinians working in the automotive industry, and it's our largest manufacturing sector. So it's grown to be incredibly important over those 30 years. When BMW first announced their investment, they announced that they were going to invest $600 million in building their first facility outside of Germany, and they were going to hire 600 South Carolinians. Today, BMW has invested well over $10 billion in South Carolina, and they employ over 14,000 South Carolinians, just BMW themselves. So it has been an incredible partnership over those years, and the state and BMW have worked together to bring success to that facility. It is now the largest production facility for BMW in the world, and the most productive production facility for BMW in the world. Over the years, BMW has morphed and grown. Different vehicles have been produced at that facility. Today, as you mentioned, they produce all of those highly successful X-Series sedans that we're so familiar with, and they export those all over the world from here in South Carolina, making us one of the largest states for exporting automobiles. So that is certainly been an incredible story. Just in 2022, BMW announced that they were going to be investing another $1.7 billion into their facility in Spartanburg, South Carolina, which at the time was their largest announced investment, but it was also the largest announced investment that any company had made in South Carolina. That's subsequently been eclipsed, but at the time that was the largest investment announcement in the history of our state. And the investment was so that they could begin to produce battery electric vehicles and battery electric hybrid vehicles, in addition to the gasoline combustion vehicles that they produce today. And so with that investment came additional facilities that will employ additional South Carolinians, but also with it came the opportunity to compete for the battery facility itself. So we saw AESC, which is a Japanese battery company, and was the designated battery supplier to the BMW facility in Spartanburg, decide to locate in Florence, South Carolina. They announced that in 2023, and since then they've announced 2 additional expansions. They haven't even finished constructing the phase 1, and they've already announced 2 expansions to that facility. When they're finished, they will have invested over $3 billion in close to 3,000 South Carolinians, and that investment will be transformational to that area of the state. So you can see how the impact of one company like a BMW and the support that the state has given to them over those 30 years has grown to benefit the entire state.
Not a doubt. Thank you. And that is so interesting about the impact. Those are the impact of BMW's investment and that legacy expanding. And it's so interesting how you say it's now the largest manufacturing sector. I mean, what can happen over 30 years when the factors are all right? That's really interesting. So let's talk about another company, and they've been there for about a decade, so a little shorter timeline. And I thought this was interesting. This is Nephron, a woman-owned pharmaceuticals manufacturing company, and I thought it was interesting in a lot of the materials that I've read from Commerce or otherwise, not just South Carolina Commerce, the enthusiasm that CEO Lou Kennedy has for South Carolina. She talks about quality of life, but of course, the profitability and the success that her company has found since moving to South Carolina in 2014. So I just wanted to share a little background, of course, with our listeners there. The company moved to the Midlands region of South Carolina in 2014. Since then, the company has grown significantly, reaching more than 900 employees, along with launching a $12.5 million expansion. And Lou Kennedy, she has touted doing business in the state, saying the company's move has been instrumental in its growth. And she's also talked about pivotability. And what she was referring to, and I did want to ask you about this, is during COVID, the COVID-19 pandemic, how Nephron pivoted quickly to manufacture medicines that needed to treat those suffering from the disease. And so I'm wondering how the state worked with the company to assist in the pandemic response. How did that play out?
Yeah, so that's one of the great stories of success in South Carolina and true partnership with the state. We came together from the governor, our federal delegation, to support the move to allow her to create very quickly, change her whole production model, and produce medicines and other things to support us in our fight against COVID-19, and really became one of the largest producers of COVID test kits in the whole country during that period of time. And of course, those are all very sophisticated products, highly regulated, obviously. And so really working with her company and with all of the federal regulators in Washington, D.C. through our federal delegation, but also our state permitting agencies here in South Carolina, working with them to move all of that along quickly to allow that company to provide those very needed resources to the country. There's another story subsequent to that is just, I think, a great example of what can happen in South Carolina. So after the pandemic, Nephron announced that they wanted to produce nitrile gloves, which we're all aware of. During the pandemic, it really exposed the vulnerability our country had in terms of personal protective equipment, PPE. And so Lou Kennedy saw that need, and she announced that she was going to build a facility and be in production in less than a year, which is an incredible thing. As part of that build out, she had to fly in a very large and expensive piece of machinery from Korea, where it was made, and she had to get the permission of both the Korean government and the United States government to be able to load that large piece of machinery onto a plane and fly it from Seoul, Korea to Columbia, South Carolina. And so we worked once again through our federal delegation and with policymakers here, the support of the governor, to get that permission for her to put that machinery on there, that plane. When it landed in Columbia, South Carolina, it was the largest plane to land at Columbia, South Carolina airport in history. And so that's really an incredible story of what can happen. And she was in production in less than a year after she made that announcement, and today is very successfully in the nitrile glove business, as well as what she does in other areas.
Wow, that is a very cool story, especially the speed to market, and that's very cool, because I did also want to just follow up by asking you, and you addressed a little bit there of Ms. Kennedy has highlighted pro-business policies and responsive government in South Carolina as significant to her company's growth, and I suppose diversification as well. And I wanted to just ask you, just to kind of put a point on it, is what has the company brought to the state's economy in terms of, whether it's quantity, quality, diversification? Just wondering kind of, in that 10 years since she's been there, how have you seen its impact?
Well, so, Lou Kennedy is a very dynamic person, and she has brought an incredible amount of leadership to our state, in a sector that maybe South Carolina isn't that well known in terms of life sciences and biotech, which is the area that she's in, but it's been our fastest growing sector in our economy for the last several years. And so, and she has embraced that and has worked hard to talk to other biotech companies about the benefits of locating in South Carolina. She's really become a great ambassador for our state, but she's also a leader within our state. She belongs to several community organizations and other organizations, and works very hard to improve our quality of life and to improve our schools and other things. So, that is what we have found to be the mutually beneficial aspect of partnership is the state invests and partners with our businesses, and in turn they invest in their communities. And that's the part of our brand promises that says when you invest in South Carolina, you grow, your business grows, you grow as a person, and your community grows. And so that's really what that's all about.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So we'll now we're going to hear from the president and CEO of that company I mentioned that's been doing business in South Carolina since 1899. We're just going to take a break and listen to that.
Today's topic, Global 500 companies headquartered in rural small towns. No one knows this superpower better than Sunoco President and CEO Howard Coker. So, Mr. Coker, what's the secret in South Carolina?
We're in 34 different countries, 300 different operations, and everywhere I go in the world, the values from Hartsville, South Carolina resonates across the globe. The culture of this company would absolutely degrade, if not disappear, if it wasn't for the small town values that we get from this great city.
Well, tell me about your experience with South Carolina's pro-business government.
South Carolina Commerce Department pro-business policies are supported by job creation and retention and workforce development, and it's certainly well aligned and supports Sunoco. They're incredibly responsive and genuinely care about our company's needs now and into the future. They're approachable and have no problem sitting down with us at any time. Business in South Carolina have a seat at the table.
Visit sclaunchtolegacy.com.
Quality of life is considered now more than ever. I've mentioned that, of course, and our listeners are well aware of that, by companies making relocation and expansion decisions. And I'd like to focus on Mr. Coker's company now, this global company operating in 33 countries. It's been in South Carolina for more than 100 years, since 1899, and stayed there, kept operations there. They are in the small town of Hartsville, from what I understand, and its headquarters remain there today. And started a team of 12 back then in a rented warehouse, and now has Fortune 500 status in operating with a team of 23,000 across more than 300 operations. So Mr. Coker, he points to South Carolina's world-class leaders, designers, and engineers as key to the company's success and part of that success. A key to that success. And he's also talked about the friendly communities in the state, including that small town of Hartsville. So I wanted to ask you, from your perspective, why has the company decided to stay in South Carolina? What has made it successful for them to remain in your state, namely where it all began in Hartsville more than 125 years ago?
Yeah, so Sunoco is a great story, and they started 125 years ago, making cardboard tubes so that textiles could be rolled onto those tubes. And very specialized area. Now today, as you mentioned, 300 operations worldwide in a variety of areas, from packaging products to very specialized other types of packaging and industrial products. And so they could have moved at any time over those 125 years. But they have been and felt embedded in the community that they're in. Hartsville, South Carolina, as you mentioned, a relatively small town in South Carolina. But that company is the backbone of that town, and that company is vested in that town and that community. And the state is invested in Sunoco and its success. And we do over time we have a great reputation for our people being leading in the areas of manufacturing and all of that. Our technical college system is globally recognized in terms of its ability to train employees with the right skill sets to be employable on day one when they arrive at the door of the business, to work on that plant at that facility. And do what needs to be done. So, that is all part of our partnership that we have with our businesses. I think we would say that over the years, Sunoco has been presented with a number of choices and opportunities where they could have very easily moved to another state or another place. And yet they've chosen to stay because of that strong sense of partnership, that strong sense of community. And that's a significant part of why doing business in South Carolina is so great.
Thank you. And it's interesting too that Hartsville, being a small town, and with the renewed or invigorated interest in rural locations in site selection and by site selectors, I just thought it was an interesting example of what a company already, in a rural location for over a century, they got it right. I guess they're in a lucky spot at this point with that renewed interest in rural locations. So I thought that was just a cool story too. Thank you.
Yeah. It's really one of the things we say about our brand is that in South Carolina you have the opportunity to work where you love, and that embodies what we mean when we talk about the communities of South Carolina and the beauty of our state and just the benefits of the quality of life here. And I think Sunoco really embodies that as well.
So let's switch gears just for a minute. I want to talk about looking to the future now, looking to diversification and building on the strengths that already exist in the state, and tech hubs. Specifically, I wanted to talk about the SC Nexus for Advanced Resilient Energy, and in October 2023, the federal government chose the SC Nexus for Advanced Resilient Energy as one of its 31 inaugural tech hubs that's garnered so much interest from site selectors certainly, but across all aspects of economic development. So I did want to ask you about that SC Nexus, and from what I understand, it's in the Midlands and upstate South Carolina, also crosses into Augusta, Richmond County, Georgia. So that's that region. This Nexus and its activities will focus on growing the clean energy supply chain. And I talked a little bit about in the beginning how 2023 capital investment into your state was a good chunk of it was in alternative energy and fuels, and that crosses over into that clean energy. So I did want to talk to you a little bit about that, the clean energy, the SC Nexus Tech Hub. What helped win this designation? What does that region offer? What's there now? What are the plans for it? Where do you see this? How do you see this taking shape?
Yeah, so we're tremendously excited about this, what we view as a very unique opportunity. So as you mentioned, this is a federal government program that was created under the CHIPS Act, which was passed on a bipartisan basis in 2022. And the CHIPS Act designated 10 key technologies that were critical to the U.S. national security going forward and to the future of the U.S. economy. And so then the Department of Commerce took proposals from around the country to be designated as a tech hub in one of those 10 key technologies. They received over somewhere around 400 applications from all across the country, and as you indicated, they selected 31. Of those 31, 4 tech hubs are in the advanced energy space. SC Nexus is really focused on advanced energy generation, storage, and grid resilience. We think this sector is really going to be not only critical to the U.S. national security, but a key sector for growth and for economic growth. And we think it will be as a tremendous opportunity for South Carolina, because it's really what this is an opportunity with the partnership of the United States government to become a recognized global leadership in advanced energy. And with as you know, the dynamics of the world we're living in today, AI is creating a tremendous demand for data centers, which have tremendous power needs that's stressing our power grid. In addition to that, we are decarbonizing globally. We are looking for ways to move away from fossil fuels. And so that has been described as the largest engineering challenge in the history of mankind. And so this really creates the opportunity for South Carolina to be at the center of this global transformation. and we're tremendously excited about it. In terms of the federal tech hub designation, as you indicated, it's specific to certain parts of our state. It does cover 60% of our distressed counties, and it's a very important that we focus on. This is just another way to help some of our rural or more economically distressed counties have opportunities for economic development as we look for opportunities to create jobs in those parts of our state. I think this is a tremendous opportunity there. But it also, we are looking at it from a statewide perspective as well. We're a small state, and we are the focus of SC Nexus on that particular geography that you mentioned is not limited in terms of what we can do for the whole state. And we've sought some state funding from our General Assembly, and if they decide to fund us from a state perspective, the state monies will not be limited to those areas of the state that the federal designation consists of. So we can do other things as well. And we think this is going to be, we're looking to be very creative with what we can do with this. Our first set of projects that we submitted to the federal government for funding are really lay the foundation for future economic development. They create that infrastructure that we believe is going to be unique for anywhere else in the world. We're building a digital grid emulation facility that will be the largest and most complex of its kind in the world when we finished with it. We're building a test bed for cybersecurity. I think everybody's heard about concerns about the grid being subject to cyber attack. And so we have expertise in that with Savannah River National Laboratory, that's a partner in the Tech Hub, and also at Fort Eisenhower in Georgia, that is the Army's designated center for cybersecurity. So the talent that is there in that Fort Eisenhower and that is around Fort Eisenhower is available to us. And so we're going to build a cybersecurity test bed. So any company that's looking to commercialize a product or a technology that they want to establish, that you can deploy it safely in the grid and it's not subject to cyber attack. We can provide those test bed facilities to allow them to do that. So those are the kind of facilities that we're bringing to bear, that we think are going to make South Carolina unique in terms of any company that wants to commercialize a product or a technology in this advanced energy space. We think we will have the right assets to make that the most rapid way to commercialization. And this is really what the Tech Hub program is about. It's not about research and development. This is about commercialization and getting products to the marketplace faster than they would otherwise get to the marketplace. And as we talked, the South Carolina has the right environment for that. We think that's one reason why we were designated by the U.S. Department of Commerce. Our Tech Hub really consists of a consortium of different types of programs that are all part of it. So both of our R1 research institutions, Clemson University and the University of South Carolina, are part of our Tech Hub. I mentioned the Savannah River National Laboratory, which is one of only 17 national laboratories in the whole country, is a part of our Tech Hub. Also, our HBCUs, our technical college system, our K through 12 education system. There's a tremendous workforce component of the Tech Hub, where we will be developing in our K through 12 schools, our technical colleges, and our higher education institutions, programs and curriculum designed to provide skill sets to students so that when they graduate, they are employable in the advanced energy sector. There's also a tremendous entrepreneurial part of our Tech Hub, which is going to help companies that want to start or grow rapidly in this area locate in South Carolina and do that. So this is really a very broad program that we think is going to be transformational in terms of what it can do for our state.
That's great. That's really a broad reaching, and as you've mentioned, seems actionable, actionable. And I love the cybersecurity and the grid reliability. I mean, of course, that's so important to companies in so many industries. So that's great. It'll be interesting to see what develops in South Carolina. And we've talked about a lot here in our talk, from manufacturing to energy reliability and clean energy, future energy. So all paving the way to economic growth in South Carolina for South Carolinians. So in closing, I wanted to just ask you to share with us something that is happening in South Carolina that's paving the way to economic growth that we may have missed in this conversation. There's a lot happening in the state, of course. So, what else is happening in South Carolina right now that we may not have touched on that you'd want to share with listeners, that will pave the way for economic growth in South Carolina?
Well, so as we mentioned, diversification, I think, is very important to us now. We think that the next 10 years in business are going to be transformational as you see technologies that we've talked about, AI, artificial intelligence, robotics, digitization. These are each one of these are huge mega trends and mega changes, but they're all happening simultaneously, and we think that is going to impact the business environment in ways that we can't even imagine today. So we think in order for our state to be ready for that, we have to do the things that we've done in the past so well. We have to be open to change. We have to embrace the future. We have to be flexible. We have to be ready to seize opportunities when they present themselves. We need to continue to emphasize the importance of new sectors, bringing new sectors into our economy so that we can diversify, so we don't become over-reliant on any particular one type of business or one sector and impacted by the ups and downs in any particular area. So those are things that we are going to continue to work on. We're going to continue to try to tell the story of South Carolina globally, so that more people are aware of what our state is and what we bring to bear and how we can help them succeed with their businesses. And so those are the key things that we'll be working on going forward.
So I wanted to thank you. Thank you, Secretary Lightsey, for sitting with me today to share the latest from, as well as the legacy of South Carolina. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
And listeners, I hope this conversation has shed some light on what the Palmetto State offers to businesses of all shapes and sizes and what's coming up in the future. To dig deeper into the possibilities for your next relocation or expansion, visit the South Carolina Department of Commerce Launch to Legacy website, and that's sclaunchtolegacy.com. Also, stay tuned for the next episode of the Business Facilities Podcast. Thank you.